Hello, ladies. Wow. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Hi, I'm Angela. I'm today's MC. I'm also the moderator for this session. I'm the TZD founding member and also the Bybit VIP relationship manager. So let's welcome these amazing ladies. Could you give us 1 to 2 sentences to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi. Good morning, everyone. My name is Chen. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Empress Hot Sauce. I'm probably the only panelist you will hear who founded a physical product. And so what we do is we use Taiwanese ingredients to create Western fermented sauces. And so our innovation is in the way that we create new flavors and food out of Taiwanese ingredients for the global market. Thank you for having me today.
Hey everyone, my name is Emily. I'm the CMO of Hype. We're a full-service go-to-market crypto agency. We helped launch Athena, Eigenlayer, recently inked by Kraken. I've been both a founder. I also did something consumer product and completely failed, so excited to share all my failures and wins. And currently I am employed, but I've been on both agency side, in-house, founder, and back to agency.
Hello everyone, I'm Carol. I am the CMO and co-founder of EXO. And EXO is a dating app. Download it. Yeah.
Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you for making it since I know a lot of people went out last night. I'm Sharon Fan. This is my 4th startup, second one that I've co-founded of decentraSAFE. We are a decentralized container infrastructure in Web3. We're based on Walrus Protocol and SWI, and it's quite young. We're about 2-3 months old, but we recently participated in a hackathon in Dubai, which gave us a lot of really great feedback. So I'm happy to be here because I'm based in Taipei, and it's so nice to see such a big turnout coming to our city.
Thank you so much for having you all here because you all come from very, very different backgrounds. So we want to dig more about your journey. So as a female leader, what do you think was your top challenge and what's the pain points for you being a female leader in this journey?
Oh, I guess I'm going to be first stab at every question. Okay. So for me, I think starting off as a female leader, the biggest challenge or the biggest difference was just remembering to be bold and assertive. I think when you're working as a female, especially in a corporate environment, oftentimes we want to be compromising, we want to make sure that there's good collaboration across the way. But when you step into the leadership role as a female, you're reminded over and over again that you have to fight for your business and fight for what you believe in. And so I think for me, that was the biggest shift, was just remembering to be bold and positive and ask for what I want without, kind of stepping back for myself.
The way I think about this is it might be a little bit different. I've always looked at myself as just as a leader. I personally don't really like the distinction between gender roles. And at the same time, there is this nuance of needing to earn trust, and that trust cycle being longer than maybe our counter gender. However, yeah, usually this mentality of it's not that I'm a female, it's just I am a leader is what has helped me push through. And there are times where you will have to push back and be assertive, so I completely echo what Jane is saying.
Yeah, so I think for me, in Web3, it's more like a male-dominant industry. Yeah, so it's somehow for men, this kind of Web3 knowledge is kind of by default. But for female, we have to prove ourselves. Yeah, so sometimes you have to probably take some time to actually prove yourself to the partners, to the group, or to probably the world, or especially for the VCs. Yeah.
I would actually echo with Emily because I've mostly been in very male-dominated environments. So it's kind of you're just a person in that environment. So I think one thing that's really interesting is 2 parts. When I was much younger, so 12 years ago when I had my first startup, it was being taken seriously. You may be younger than you look because you're Asian. So people thought I was 21 when I was 30. And they don't take you as seriously if you're technical. And I have an engineering background, so I constantly had to reiterate that. I think now that I'm a mother, it becomes the challenges become time and sort of more structural. And I actually think it's not a bad thing because it forces you to be more efficient. But I think that challenge is pervasive for women And that's the biggest thing that's going to define how you structure yourself as an entrepreneur, because you also have different roles now as a family member and a mother, etc. And startups are basically babies, so you kind of have to decide which baby to take care of when. And I think that's one thing that, in the end, if you're going to be a female leader, that is something that you have to make a decision about. And that's, I think, personal. But yeah.
Yeah.
Can I also add to that? So you mentioned working in male-dominated fields, and crypto is extremely male-dominated. Anything in tech is as well. And I've always seen it, if you are a female, it also is a blue ocean, and it's a huge opportunity because there's a lot less women in the space. And the beautiful thing about building a startup or business is there are set numbers and KPIs that you can always adhere to. So when you are speaking in truth and authenticity, there is some type of metric or guiding metric I found that allows us to be a bit more assertive in a space where there's not many of us.
That's really good. I feel it's more about the courage to step in and to talk, to speak out. And so what inspired you the most in this lonely journey, fighting just by yourself, because we don't really have much female leaders here, or even female colleagues. So it's kind of a very lonely path, to be honest. So what inspired you the most in this journey?
For me, well, I'm very lucky. I have a co-founder, and so if I want to give up, he's always, pulling me back up. But in reality, I think, regardless, any startup is hard. As to start from zero is always a big challenge, and oftentimes on the way you may feel like you're going crazy. You're losing your way. You're not sure what you're doing. And I think it always goes back to, I always remind myself why did I do this in the first place? And so having that really strong understanding of your mission, or what the purpose of what you're doing is, I think is so critical to push forward, even in those lonely moments when you feel like you're going insane. And just making sure you have a good community around you too, because our friends, our family, they're all rooting for you. And so it's just putting one foot in front of the other, just to get to the next stage. That's really what I keep reminding myself.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is, I look at it as defining your why, and there's a why behind your business, right? So there is ultimately a positioning statement your business has, and why do you believe your business deserves to exist? On top of that, I also have an intrinsic why. So specifically for me and why I got into crypto, I first learned about Bitcoin when I was extremely broke in college. It was 2013. I remember it finally hit $900, and I was like, wow, I completely missed the boat. And back then, when I first read the Bitcoin white paper, it really aligned with my internal values of pro-sovereignty, completely permissionless payment systems. And that was my why for becoming interested in crypto. We all have a deep connection to our why when it comes to why we do what we do in life, whether that's relationships, friendships, business. And I think the stronger you are, or the more closely you are connected to it, the more your conviction grows.
Yeah, I think everyone would have that kind of blob moments. Yeah, so probably before I answer mine, I would like to ask everyone a questions. I give you 30 seconds to think about a person that you are willing to tell them everything, all your secrets or your dark side. Can you think of anyone? Everything, even the vulnerable timing.
That's hard to only focus on one person to tell them everything.
Probably ChatGPT, right? So it's impossible. So because when you mention it's a lonely journey, right? So I want to start my lonely journey to end your lonely journey. I want to create a place which is safe for everyone that can confess. So that's why we start EXO. And we noticed that the traditional dating apps are broken. And the security, the tragedy, the catfishing is happening every day. So we have to do something, especially when we have this kind of knowledge of blockchain. The nature is trust. We can have DID. We can have different kind of verifications to actually filter those scammers and protect our users and give them a very secure, a haven for them to confess, to find someone to talk to listen to them, to be themselves. Yeah, so I think that's what we are doing. And the blob moment is the loneliest moments when I have. And I can understand that there will be a lot of people, they also suffer from this. So I want to make a change, yeah.
I love going last because basically everyone just takes away your answers. But I actually would add to that, I think what's really deeply beautiful is that often when I speak to female founders, their why and their like reason for doing something is so strong, and it's usually deeply personal, very principled, very high value, and sometimes we just need to make money, right? And so anyway, that's just besides the point. I obviously had deeply personal reasons for why I start things, but I actually think what's cool is we stick to it longer, right? So this panel is 0 to 1, and that's one thing, to take that step and take that leap, because we can potentially sometimes be more fearful of the outcome or risk averse, but it's also the 1 to 100 that's really hard. And by having a really strong why, you keep at that to get to that scale. I would say most of the reasons why I do startups are 2 reasons. It's one for control, because I genuinely don't, I think, I'm better at running something than being told what to do. But that's besides the point. But I would say the second reason is to strive to change the world into a place that I think is better. So my first startup was in medtech. We wanted to make surgeons do things better. I've done other things to sort of make sort of healthcare, and now we're working on making a more available, censorship-free platform. But I think the reason behind it is always strong enough that it gets you to power through the hard 1 to 100 period, because that's really hard. And you may fail at 5 or 20 or even 95, but to have a really strong motivation is how you can ultimately succeed.
I really like this because everyone has found their why they started this. And I think like why is a very core thing that can push you to move, like to make forward. So, but the next stage, how? How did you like identify your like values, your core to like throughout this journey? How did you like do that?
I love what everybody has said, honestly, and I think a lot of the times when I speak with new founders, everybody is so driven to get things done, to push forward, and I often remind them that sometimes you really want to take a moment and just be in silence and just think about why you're doing this in the first place, because once you start something, everything is a priority, everything is important, especially in the very beginning. And so if you're not in touch with your reason for doing it, you may end up getting pulled in all directions. And then when you look back, you're like, wait, did I really get to where I need to go? And so in my team, I'm known to be very exercise oriented. So I make my team do a lot of different thinking exercises. Every quarter or like every sprint, we talk a little bit about how we're meeting our mission based on the projects that we've launched, just as a way to constantly remind and reset ourselves to the original mission. And I'm not quite sure how this might work in the crypto world, but I know in the CPG world, there's so much you could do. The possibility is endless. And so just being true and reminding yourself, this is my North Star, it will automatically start prioritizing the stuff you need to do. And so I really encourage everybody to take some time, look online to figure out how you can really synthesize your why. So for ourselves, our mission is to share Taiwan's story with the world through exciting food and flavors that everyone can enjoy. And every single thing we do as a business is to share that message, is to tell the world more about Taiwan. And that's what we go back to every single time. And so I ask you guys, what's yours?
I think understanding your why is a very intrinsic and intimate journey with yourself. And a lot of my early 20s and teens was experimentation and failing over and over and over again. So I think it's also becoming comfortable not knowing what your why is yet. And also I found that my core values stay the same, but what I want to discover, learn, and experience expands as I get older. Currently, right now, I moved from a founder role back to in an agency, so I do have a team and an employer, and I'm very comfortable with right now being this moment where I get to learn a lot. And I have a deep belief that one day I will become a founder again, but technology is moving so fast, and I don't know what that'll be yet. And when the timing is right, I will know. Specifically on how to do this, growing a startup 0 to 1 or growing a business, we do a lot of go-to-market. I really like using the principles of the lean startup method, where you start with one specific target audience, one specific USP, test it. So I found a lot of analogies of marketing and go-to-market as well with life, just experimentation. The beautiful thing with business is you can actually measure everything and iterate off of that, where life can be a bit more nuanced. So that's kind of my take on how I view the analogies or similarities of growing a business as well as growing through life.
Yeah, I agree. And I think during the process, there are a lot of like noise, a lot of people that are telling you you are doing wrong, it's not the right things to do, or like it's stupid to do this. Yeah, but only the market and the users can really tell you what you are doing is right or wrong. Just forget about the banter and the VCs. No, just kidding. Yeah, so probably during the whole process, we get a lot of feedbacks from our users. And a lot of female users, they really change their life because of this product. They might have very dark side or like the black history, and they want to start over. They want to find someone to listen to them, and they really find it. And like they get married, or they share like a lot of happiness with us. I think that is what support this team to keep moving and let us know like, okay, we're doing something good, and we are not like what they say. Yeah, and also the results would also rewarding you. Like now we're already profitable, we prove ourselves, and we are generating like money and also like reputation and like giving very good like positive outcomes, especially for our users. Yeah.
So I find this question brings up a philosophical conflict in entrepreneurship. Most really strong entrepreneurs are supposed to be very driven, very stubborn, and just doggedly chasing after this one goal. But you also have to be very flexible and iterate quickly and pivot and be fast and fail quickly and move on. And so how does one reconcile doing that in the how period? And I think that's one part that I think female entrepreneurs may lack at, is that we just think, okay, we're gonna do this one thing and get it done. But that's actually problematic, because you have to oftentimes, if it's failing, you have to let go. You have to move on, you have to change. And I've met a lot of male founders who can just quickly let go of it and then create a new business, get a new job, and just move on. And I will fully admit that that's actually one of my vulnerabilities, is that I have a very hard time seeing something end or changing and moving quickly. And I'm getting better at it. I think that's one lesson that I've learned in the how. And I would actually encourage, and I think it's a function of age too. Like when you're a bit younger, failing is not that big of a deal. And these days, I mean, the Web3 infrastructure world, or even the ecosystem is so, like the barrier to entry is so low, it's so easy. You can just win a couple hackathons, then do an accelerator, you can incorporate much easier. Like everything's just becoming more frictionless. But that means that you have to keep up with that speed. So if your business model isn't working, pivot. Do it quickly, because otherwise you kind of get stuck in a rut. And I think that's one main lesson that I've learned in all these years, to be quicker and faster and more iterative.
Yeah, if I can add to that, I think just speaking to the how, the best advice I've ever gotten is just get your product out as soon as possible to let your users tell you what you want to do or what you don't want to do. A lot of the times we may get stuck in our own little cycle of what we think might be right or wrong, but at the end of the day, your users are the ones that should be telling you what is resonating with them. And so get your product out as fast as possible. To Sharon's point, fail as fast as possible so that you can figure it out.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Be bold, be courage, and just test it. And just keep feeling, and then just keep testing. And so the last question for you is like, can you give us like 1 to 2 sentences or 1 to 2 advices to the young ladies to purchase this like lonely, hardworking entrepreneurial life?
Oh man, honestly, all my great advice I already shared. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, just remember that whatever you're doing, it's part of your life experience. Being a startup founder is not your only identity. It's part of your life journey. And so I think when you zoom out, it actually helps a lot when you're making decisions. It doesn't feel like life or death. And so for all the folks who are looking to become founders out there, just enjoy the fact that you get to do this in this fast-paced world, and you get to learn and be on a panel with incredible women, and get to be in this ecosystem, and take that a little bit. I think the best advice I also got was don't take yourself too seriously, because at the end of the day, everything we're doing is part of a life experience, and you're just trying to learn to get to the next phase.
That was so good, Jane. I will try to expand on that. I have a lot of fun doing what I do, and I encourage you all to have fun. Also, we're in a very specific place where you can meet people in real life. The digital landscape made it easier to reach out to your audience, but there's nothing that can beat getting in real life feedback. So for example, Carol just showed me her app, and I'm going to go through the whole onboarding and give her my user feedback. So you have real humans here that you can chat with to also validate your idea if you're thinking about building, validate the problems that you think or assume should be solved. And if you have like a working wireframe or something you built in a hackathon, you can validate that as well. So I encourage you to just talk to each other, as well as talk to your potential audiences and users, and just keep iterating from that.
Yeah, and I have met a lot of girls who say, oh, I want to step into Web3, I want to start, but I don't know how to, and like, what can I do? I don't know any knowledge and something like that, yeah. So I think when you see the rain, you want to join, then you should walk into the rain. You have to be wet, then you will know if you like it or not, right? So just learn, because just like what Karen said, like the speed is like incredible, like things are changing in Web3. You never know which domain you want to enter, so just join them. Like there are a lot of resources actually you can, like different groups, like you are doing like marketing, maybe they're doing hardware and they are doing like technical things. Just join them and then learn. Yeah, it can be like something, like I believe in one sentence, it's like everything that happened to you is for a reason, right? And it is what made you. So don't be afraid, just walk in the rain.
Can I actually ask the quick question to the crowd? How many people are entrepreneurs or want to become an entrepreneur? Just a quick show of hands. Okay. That's actually a smaller amount than I thought, which is fine, because I think I have 2 points on that. The main point of advice I would say that contrasts from have fun, don't take yourself seriously, be fearless, is negotiate. No, I'm serious, and I think this applies beyond just entrepreneurship, right? Like, as an entrepreneur, you're negotiating with your investors, you're negotiating with your partners, et cetera. So it's less, but even as a general employee or whatever, negotiation is going to be your strongest tool in life. And you will also negotiate with yourself. And as women, we negotiate ourselves down, which is terrifying, right? There are men who walk into a room and they have so much confidence, and you're just like, you actually don't know as much, but that's okay. You've spent your whole life negotiating up, and you've been rewarded for it. And that is something that I actually think is not discussed as much, especially also in an Asian culture where we negotiate ourselves down even more. And so if there's one thing, and I was listening to this podcast on the way here just to mentally prepare, it's like, that's the key skill in all ecosystems, especially in I would say, a Web3 world, because that's the one part that requires intense human interaction, right? And that's the part you can win against all the competitors. And so that's my first point, is that negotiate hard. There are lots of podcasts and lots of books on that, but that will bring you to a different place in life always, even as an entrepreneur. And then I think the second point, which is echoing what everyone says, have fun, be curious, play. Because when you're playing, there's no consequences, there's no fear, there's no stress around it. The stress will come eventually when you've raised money and you have to scale, but still treat it as play, because only when you're playing are you looking at it from a very interesting perspective that you can continue, and then you won't give up, but you'll also be quick and nimble and iterate? I was at another conference earlier this week where I learned that Einstein has a quote that says, "Play is the highest form of research." And it was actually in a kindergarten wall that founder saw that quote. And as a mom, I'm always looking at my child being like, they are having a great time discovering this world. And by doing so, they will learn quickly, and then they will fail quickly, and then they will just grow. And ultimately, if you're growing a business, that mantra really, really sticks.
Could I say something and ask Sharon a follow-up question?
Sure.
So one thing I wanted to echo is I love this movement of ask more dumb questions. I'm a marketer, I'm non-technical, and what I have found is in a space where it's so technical, asking dumb questions, one, people love to help, and you'd be surprised. So that has helped me, and now I'm just always asking dumb questions. For example, I have a X Space coming up with Nader from Eigenlayer about the new Electric Capital Developer Report, and I'm so excited to ask all the questions I have. And then the second thing on negotiation, since we're all in this space together, I'd love to hear from you and what you've learned from your experience in podcasts, because to be able to negotiate is to identify what leverage you have, and it takes confidence. So from your experience, how do you think women or anyone can build up that confidence to identify leverage and negotiate?
I think it's interesting. I was with a friend when she was negotiating her salary. She was working from home, so she was actually in her bedroom on the call with her Singapore boss. And we had practiced it. We actually rehearsed it to be like, so I gave her some ways of, hey, let's benchmark my salary to someone else's. Like, there were all these things, but when she was actually on the phone call, she was just like, oh, well, whatever you think is best. And then it was done. So she didn't negotiate, even though we had practiced it. And what I learned from that, and I kind of think about it to myself, is I think and again, not a sweeping generalization, I think women think that we have something to lose. And when you negotiate, you have to negotiate like you don't have anything to lose. And there's a term called BATNA, which is best alternative, someone else can fill this in. But it's saying you have an alternative to that. And the alternative to not negotiating is not having it. So always negotiate, because you have nothing to lose. You're just gonna go from zero to stay zero. But if you negotiate, then at least you'll get something. You'll also learn how to negotiate, which is more than zero, right? So in my brain, I think there is, again, it's cultural, it's maybe all of our experiences we've had, like, there is this thing that pulls us back as if we have something to lose. But you often don't have anything to lose, and if you come at it with a play perspective of, let me just see if I can get what I want, and I won't have anything to lose, and if I've tried it, I won't fail, and just like asking a dumb question. Or it's not really dumb, it's the courage to ask a question thinking no one will think this is dumb. That's, I think, the main thing, is that we think we will come across dumb, we have something to lose, we were embarrassed, so many self-talk. And of course, it's all still gonna be there, but the only way you can silence it is with practice. And the more you practice, the more it gets quieter. Maybe.
I think
You go second nature.
Sorry? Oh, BATNA, okay. My co-founder will come at you with all the acronyms later.
But I really like what you said, because like, this topic is about women, but when we're women, when we are in our industry, you know, like the man will come to the office, they only prepare like 80%, but they can like present it like 100%, and like, you know, that kind of like cocky or like proud of himself. But I feel like when women, we're like questions of ourselves a lot, and we'll say, even like we prepare like 100, 120. But when it comes to the time, we'll say, probably 80%. I think I can do better. But I think it was just like, hey, people, be courage. It's just like nothing to lose. It's like, what will you do if you're not afraid of it? Just think about that.
I always like to remind my team that like negotiation starts from practice. So start from something very, very small. If you're just negotiating a contract right off the bat, you're gonna freak out. It's not gonna be easy, and it's not gonna work. So if you negotiate everything or a little bit every day, when you get to that big case or when you get to that salary negotiation, it's not gonna feel as scary, because you've already put yourself out there a little bit every single day. Because as a startup founder, you negotiate every single minute of every single day. And so yeah, totally agree, 100%.
Yeah, and I think if it's gonna be like the self-talk, you have to practice like, you don't deserve better, you deserve the best. Just tell yourself, yeah.
That's really good. I'm really happy we have this panel because we start from the why, and then they teach us about a lot about how. And now this is like what we can see as like this like successful female leaders. So thank you so much, like to talk with us and share all these experiences. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.